Patrick, you are American. I'm American. Do you know when the evacuation's going to start? Because I hadn't really got my notice on that yet, and I'm getting a little concerned. Good afternoon, everyone. CountryFlyboy here. Welcome to the Pilot's Lounge, also known as the FSElite Podcast. I am CountryFlyboy, as I just said, and I'm joined here with Patrick Moore.
Hey, everybody. How you doing? Thanks for joining us.
And on this podcast, Jordan is supposed to be here. Jordan Green, our fearless assistant leader, I think is his title. But he is indisposed at the moment and has, for some reason, decided not to join us. So we don't know where he's at. He's supposed to be here, but he can't be reached. Anywho, we're going to go on without him. If he shows up at some point, he shows up at some point. So right off the bat, this podcast is going to be a little bit different from the last season. I did not want the podcast to be just another news podcast, because if I listen to one more Flight Sim podcast that is just a rundown of the news this week, I'm going to shoot someone. Every single podcast is like that with flight simming. So we're actually not going to talk much about news. Unless it's a really big story. We do have one like that tonight. But to compromise with this, Callum, our fearless leader, I pitched an idea to him last week about doing a separate news show in audio form that's separate from the podcast. That way it will take the burden of news off of us. So he's actually going to be doing a news roundup on Friday. He'll try to release it Friday morning or Friday afternoon. And it's basically going to be a complete quick roundup, around 5 minutes in length, of the news that week. Everything from product releases to stories to probably events that'll be going on that weekend as well. So if you're looking for Flight Sim news all in one place, that would be the place to get it. That will be on FSElite on Fridays. I don't know if he is going to have that ready this week or not, but we shall see. I got one more thing to mention here. FSElite's going to be having a contest. We're going to be having a contest where you can win the PMDG 747 version 2. So probably soon, don't know when because they're real secretive about it, but PMDG is going to be releasing version 2 of their 747, and we're going to have a little contest on FSElite where you can win that 747 if you want. The way you enter is you go onto the FSElite Facebook page and like it, and also leave a comment on a certain post. There'll be a certain post mentioning this contest. Leave a comment on there with the date that you think the PMDG 747 V2 will be released. And presumably, I'm not sure how this works because we just got this news handed to us hot off the press, really. But I think whoever's closer or spot on is going to be entered in, and we're going to pick someone at random from there. Additional terms and conditions apply, so do read the post on Facebook for everything you need to know, and on FSElite's website. And that will be that.
I want to enter.
Yeah,
I want to win this thing.
Unfortunately, we can't.
I'm going to resign from FSElite. And
You're gonna. You heard it here first. Patrick is going to resign from FSElite and then enter the contest, and then presumably once it's over, he's going to beg and plead to be back in. Okay, well, I got two things I want to talk about. First, the news for the week, and the only thing we're really going to mention here, because it was a bit of a hot story, the Flight Factor 757 version 2, which is a 757 add-on for X-Plane, was recently released to some anger for some people over that. If I understand what people were angry over, it was twofold. One was the price. Patrick, what did you say it was?
I believe they're asking $64.95, and they are offering a discount coupon if you purchase version 1, and I think the email should have gone out on November 8th had you purchased version 1, and the discount, I believe I heard, is $45 or so.
Okay, well, $64.95, that's a high price. Holy cow. Anyway, I don't think people were so much angry over the price so much as they didn't get what they thought they were getting. I think most people were expecting an update to the Flight Factor 757. They were expecting just an update, maybe a paid update, but what they got was a completely brand new product. And that's good in a way, but at the same time, a brand new product means a higher price. And that's a lot of money for a single airplane. $64.95. Holy cow.
Yeah. It's like PMDG prices.
I think they're even more expensive. Don't get me started on them. We can play a little game later. Yeah, it's like, that's a lot of money. My thing is, were they right to do it? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. And my thing is, how did they promote this? Did they promote it as a new product entirely? Because, I mean, we talked about the PMDG earlier. Their 747 V2's coming out soon, and they've named it pretty much exactly the same way Flight Factor did. Flight Factor named the new 757 the 757 V2, which implies an update. It implies just an update.
Yeah.
I didn't really follow it, so I don't know how they promoted it. But if they promoted it as an update, then yeah, this is not really good. If you promote it as an update and then it turns out to be full release, high price, that makes you look bad.
Yeah,
really
I'm sure
does.
It surprised a lot of people. I'm not sure what the hype was on that, what they were saying. But I know there still is some confusion just reading the comments on YouTube of the reviews of this thing, and people still think it's free. And then someone comments and tells them that it's not, and then they're angry. So
yeah, and that shows a failure of communicating your product. Yeah.
But I mean, maybe they did. Maybe these people are just ignorant to it, but who knows?
How many of them are there? If it's just pure ignorance, you really wouldn't expect to see that many, or the comments would look more like trolls.
Mm-hmm. It was just a couple people. Most people understood that it was a new overhaul.
But still, it's like, if they promoted it as a full overhaul, then that's fine. They're completely in the right here. So I mentioned PMDG, and they're doing the same thing. They've just named the new one the Queen of the Skies version 2, which is the same practice, but to date, PMDG hasn't done anything that would suggest it's not a full product. So they've made it abundantly clear that that's going to be a full brand new product at full price.
Yeah, especially with it being released on P3D for the first time ever.
Because they didn't port the other one over.
No, I wouldn't, and I wish they had. I missed that plane. That's one thing I really missed from switching over from FSX.
I would give you some recommendations, but I mean, you're never gonna. Well, no, does the iFly one work on? iFly does pretty good stuff. I mean, I think they're equal to PMDG, so I'd check them out if you're wanting one. And iFly usually give you a better deal too, because you get a 30-day money back guarantee.
Oh wow, that's unheard of for.
Yeah,
for our
that's
industry.
definitely unheard of. I really wish more people would do that. The only downside with it is it's sold by Flight One, so you got to use that god-awful wrapper of theirs. But, I mean, for the money-back guarantee, that's a pretty sweet. I mean, you got nothing to risk then.
I really wish Sceneries did that. I'm still mad today that I bought the Sacramento KSMF by Aerosoft. And it is the worst running scenery I've ever bought. And now they have my money. I can't get any money back. And, I wish I would have known that, or, get to try it. Like, even if it's for a week, you get to try it and then you get your money back if it doesn't work out.
Did they not have a demo?
They didn't have a demo of it, no. No,
okay,
just bought
so
it. I can't remember how much it was, but.
Yeah, Scenery especially needs to have a demo at the very least. I think you need a demo and a money-back guarantee, to be honest. But
yeah.
I'm just some filthy liberal. Okay. Well, that was the 757. I want to move on to this next one, which I think people think of me as an X-Plane hater, Patrick. I think people amongst the FSElite, the FSElite community think of me as an X-Plane hater. I'm not, guys. I do like X-Plane. I wish it well.
No, you don't. Leave them alone. Leave X-Plane alone.
Leave it alone. I do wish it well, and I want to do good, because it's on my list as a potential simulator in the next year. I'm switching sims soon. I keep saying that, but what I'm saying is at some point next year, I'm going to be switching sims. Now, I have an editorial planned on my list of importance, what is going to be the criteria of me picking simulators. Basically, the long and short of it is I'm looking at both X-Plane 11 and Dovetail. Whatever they come out with, if it meets my criteria, whichever one I think meets the criteria the most is what I'm going to go with. I want to give Prepared version 4 a shot, but Prepared version 4, if they follow their track record, they're probably not going to have that out until this time next year. So, I mean, that's a long ways off that I got to stick with Flight Sim X.
Yeah.
So, basically, the way this is going to play out, I think, is either X-Plane 11 or Dovetail really knocks it out the park, and I go with them, or one of them or both of them shit the bed, and I just go to Prepared, because I know Prepared's going to be good. I already know what I'm getting with Prepared. So, X-Plane 11 and Dovetail really have to knock it out the park to get me off of the Prepared route. That's the track I'm on. They're going to have to get me onto their track, basically. But speaking of X-Plane, I'm not a hater, but I have this opinion, this little educated guess. X-Plane 11's release date was supposed to be this month, this November. It's the 16th of November at the time of recording. I don't think they're going to have it out this month. I don't think so. What do you think, Patrick?
It's hard to say. They have about 2 weeks, roughly, right? And, well, there was that video that came out utilizing the 4 cores.
That's actually my thing, is like they have, let me bring up my calendar here. They have, next week, they have exactly 2 weeks today, to get it out before it's December and they're officially late. But recently a video came out on a YouTube channel named Michael Brown. That channel released a video talking about X-Plane 11 utilizing all 4 cores of the CPU. Like, he had a camera pointed at the screen. Again, I don't know why they keep doing that, but they do. And
I know, don't they have shadow play? I mean, you got this awesome rig.
At the very least, OBS. I mean, shadow play might have been a bit difficult because he had like 4 monitors set up.
Well, he had Fraps going. I saw the little yellow counter.
I don't know how Fraps handles with...
Oh, it does drop your frame.
Well, I don't know how Fraps handles with multiple monitors, is the thing. He had Fraps going. He also had shadow play going, because I recognized the frame rate counter in the corner. Like, that was shadow play's frame rate counter.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the Fraps one.
Now, Fraps is yellow. Shadow plays is green. At the very least, you can get OBS. And OBS is fantastic at recording multi-monitor setups. So they could have done that no problem. I don't know why but whatever. They pointed the camera at the monitor. He did at the very least record this with a 4K camera. So the resolution's not a problem. So you can really see what's going on. So it's not the end of the world. And what's notable is that since he recorded it in 4K, we were actually able, someone on Reddit, I got this picture from them, but they were actually able to go full screen with this at max resolution and zoom in on the time stamp on the computer, the little clock in the corner. He was running a Windows machine. And, zoom and enhance that, and found it was recorded on it was uploaded November the 13th and recorded the day before, so it would have been recorded November 12th. And in the video, Michael said he was using an early beta build on November 12th, the same month you want to have this out? Mm-hmm. What? Early beta.
Well, if that's all he had.
If that's all he had, like, at first I thought maybe this was he recorded this at some point in the past and an NDA just got lifted. But to see that, when I saw that image on Reddit of someone had zoomed in on the clock and it said November 12th, I'm like, oh, nope, that's no NDA. That's just... And
also, like your point from earlier, it's going to be a brutal time to release because of all the titles coming out. Very soon.
I'm pretty sure, they really... X-Plane, if you're listening, it might be in your best interest to just go ahead and say that you're pushing it back. Because this doesn't look good. You're not instilling confidence in the consumers here, myself included. So if you announce that you're pushing it back, just say it. We will respect you for it, because most people would rather you delay it and it be good than release it early and it be crap. Because you only get one release, and how that release goes really does affect you. So delay it now and release it later and it's good, that's fine. No one's going to hate you for it. Also, you got a lot of competition, X-Plane. This is not a good time of year to be releasing anything new.
No.
you don't see a lot. There's a reason you don't see a lot of new IPs in the gaming world coming out this time of year. To put this in perspective, and the reason why, it's November, and this month, Battlefield 1 has already released. Titanfall 2 has released. The new COD, Infinite Warfare, is supposed to release. I don't know if that's out already or not. Planet Coaster, which is a new one and an indie title, is released, but that game's got a serious pedigree behind it, and it's been hyped up pretty good, so they have a real chance there. You also have Final Fantasy 15 coming out this month, and what else? There's one other The Last Guardian has got to come out. That's either this month or next month is The Last Guardian. That's a lot of big name game development there you're going up against, and we still got to get through December.
Yeah.
So this is the time of year that your big name games come out. You really don't want to compete with them because you have no hope. And before anyone says that, oh, this is Flight Sim, we don't have to worry about that because this is Flight Sim. We're a niche hobby. There is an overlap, guys. There is a big overlap between gamers and flight simmers. Both me and Patrick are gamers.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I was a gamer long before I was a flight simmer, and I think that's for a lot of people in this,
this hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a big overlap between gamers and flight simmers. So you do have to worry about what the gaming industry does and releasing, because if you let's assume a scenario where all these games I just mentioned appeal to a wide audience, with the exception of Planet Coaster and The Last Guardian. Those are the two that don't appeal to a very wide audience. The Last Guardian does, actually, but that's because it's a Team Ico game. That wide audience, it actually increases the chance of people not buying your simulator when it comes out, because each one of these games is going to be a $60 retail price. And X-Plane 10 is already $60. It won't surprise me if X-Plane 11 is at least 60, if not more. So already we've spent $180 on 3 games that's come out in the past 2 weeks. And we already have another $120 to look forward to. Planet Coaster, I don't think $60. I think it's actually 40 or something like that. That came out recently. I think either came out yesterday or today, so I'm not going to look at it right now, but...
And then there's all the sales, not only on all the websites that sell flight sim things, but Steam is going to have sales. Cyber Mondays coming up.
Cyber Monday?
So...
the Steam Christmas sale, too. That's a big one.
Yeah, you got people spending money there. And Steam's huge because that's the platform they're selling it on. So... that's something to consider.
That's definitely something you got to think about, because, I mean, we're already spending a lot of money. We ain't going to have money for X-Plane.
Yeah.
It might be best to wait until Q1 of 2017.
And then there's the money, not even in gaming, the money you're spending on people for the holidays.
Oh, yeah. Plus the hardware requirements that came out recently. X-Plane 11's got some serious hardware requirements.
Yeah.
Like, holy cow, I'm looking at this and it's like, this is equivalent to GTA 5, which could either be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on how you look at it. But, holy cow, that's some serious hardware. I mean, GTA 5, the recommended to get the optimum... Recommended settings are usually what the developer thinks you need minimum to get the optimum experience. You usually want to have at least recommended or better in terms of hardware setup. So... Do
you want to run down the requirements if you have them handy? I'll look for them right now, too, but...
You can look for them. I don't have them handy. I'll finish my statement, though.
Go ahead.
So basically, if your hardware requirements are large, you gotta assume a certain amount of your audience doesn't have that hardware. There was some serious hardware listed here. So that's a lot of money. Like the graphics card they were recommending on their recommended, that's like I don't know what the price is. You might be able to find one for like $300, $400 if you don't have that card. Do you got the recommended hardware requirements yet?
Yeah, recommended. They want a DirectX 12 capable video card.
Damn.
4 gigabytes VRAM, GeForce GTX 1070 or better. Similar from AMD. That's the recommended. The minimum they want, a DirectX 11 capable card. 512 megabytes VRAM. And then Intel i5 6600 or 66K at 3.5 gigahertz or faster. I mean, that right there is kind of...
Whew.
I don't know if they're talking quad or...
say it again?
They just say Intel Core i5 66K.
Yeah, that's a quad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a quad core. The i5 was like the low budget. Because you had the i7 and the i5. The i7 was the higher one. The i5 was the lower budget version of the i7. I don't know what the i3 is. So that i5 is a quad core. The minimum's not too bad considering it's a 2017, 2016 release, but holy cow, that recommended.
Yeah.
A 1070?
Yeah, that's up there.
That is up there. That's a $500 card. Damn. Anyway, I don't think X-Plane 11's coming out in November. We're recording this. It's entirely possible that by the time you're hearing this, they've already announced that it's delayed, or it may have even came out. So, I don't think it's entirely an opinion. I don't think they're going to have that out in November. But we talked about Flight Sim add-ons coming on sale. There's a reputable one, and you do a lot of YouTube videos, so you were interested in this one. Chase Plane that came out recently. Now, I do YouTube videos too, but I just work with a default camera system, and the way I do my videos, that works. So
right.
I'm not really interested in Chase Plane. But one of the main reasons I'm not too interested in Chase Plane is it's actually an early access add-on.
Yes,
early access being... Do you have Chase Plane?
Yeah, I picked it up. I got it last week, and the first night I spent around 4 or 5 hours with it, and then I did a flight a couple days later, spent 3 more hours with it. And basically, yeah, I will say, if you fly, like Tim here, and you just need the camera to see the instruments, that's all you need, then you're fine with EasyDock. No, not really a need to upgrade to this, but if you're doing a lot more of the cinematic videos, mainly if you're on YouTube and you're panning around the airport, around the outside of the plane, then this is going to be really good because there's so many options for the camera, the shake. I mean, you can control how it vibrates if you get behind the engine. like if you're flying and you pan the camera behind the engine, you can adjust or tune how much it shakes with the engine blast, and then there's so many options. I mean, I think you guys will really like it if you do the cinematic videos.
Well, there's your early access review, ladies and gentlemen, from Patrick Moore here.
Oh, and check out we did a video on the FSElite channel on YouTube, so check that out too if you want to see. It's about 10 minutes of how to operate it and some good stuff, so check it out.
Cool. The thing I want to talk about, though, is it's an early access add-on, and early access is something I am not a fan of. At first, in the video game world, it was nice. I mean, you had Minecraft use it, and it had some success with it. A few others, like Kerbal, is usually the one people point out as a success story with early access. But I hate early access in flight simming. I'm not too keen on it in gaming because of what it's become. So people point to Kerbal as an example of early access done right and what early access can do. And they're right. Kerbal Space Program is a great game. But it is a diamond floating on a sea of turds. It is a great game surrounded by asset flipping cash grabs. An asset flip is a game where usually people use the Unity game engine because it's a free game engine you can get and play around with and make stuff with. And the Unity engine has a store where you can buy assets. So 3D models, graphic stuff and effects and shit like that. But an asset flip is someone who buys an asset from the store, puts it in the game, and just sells that. They don't do anything to it. There's an actual pre-made game asset you can get, which is a zombie survival with crafting. I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically an asset pack that gives you a working game system with some enemy zombies and a crafting system. And at some point there was at least 4 games on Steam that was just that asset pack rebranded with a different name, all being sold for like $5. Mm-hmm. And to me, like this one thing for games, but this means something else entirely for flight sim add-ons, because flight sim add-on devs aren't making a game, as several people like to say, to justify the ridiculously high prices. They're not making a game, but that actually means they have a harder time getting away with early access. is because how can you really do a flight sim add-on with early access? I mean, in Chase Plane's defense, they're doing it right. They have a working alpha, and they have a clear line of a game plan and a timeline of how when they want to have this stuff out.
Yeah.
The only complaint I have about Chase Plane is its price. I think that's too high for an early access add-on. If you're gonna do early access, which you really shouldn't. But whatever, Chase Plane's doing it right. But Milviz has an early access aircraft in development for the past few years.
One more thing I want to say about Chase Plane before we move on to that is that they are pushing nearly daily updates to it, because every time I turn it on, they have an update, and it runs real fast. It doesn't take too long, and you don't have to do it yourself. It updates automatically, and they release the notes on what they fixed. So that's kind of rare to see that many rapid updates. So they are doing it right. You know, I think other people should follow their model of this.
Yeah. Like I said, my only complaint about that one's the price. Like, they're doing it like they should. So that's at least there. But Milviz definitely ain't doing it like it should, because for one, it's an aircraft add-on. I don't know how you can do an aircraft add-on early access.
God,
like,
I know.
Sorry, you can't shoot RNAV approaches, or we ain't done with the FMS yet.
Yeah.
And I think they had I looked at this some time ago, but I can't remember off the top of my head, but they were charging almost what would be full price for a flight sim add-on aircraft for a early access, incomplete aircraft. So I'm going to make this statement right now. I do reviews. I recently had a review go up on the Just Flight Cicada on FSElite. If I ever get handed an early access add-on, you will be reviewed as if you are a full release product. So I'm not giving leeway for that. So pray to God I'm not the one that reviews it, because you will be reviewed as a full released, feature complete product. And I don't think that's unreasonable, because in the world of gaming, when people talk about early access, they typically review them similarly, because that's all you're guaranteed to get. Like, what is there then is all you're getting. That's all you're guaranteed. It's entirely possible that the developer will just run off one day and abandon it after they get your money, and you'll just never see that thing get complete, and you're just stuck with it.
And do you blame the consumer for letting them get away with it? One of the reasons
Steam refunds became such a big deal was that exact crap.
Do you think it's our fault, the consumer, for letting them get away with this? Because we are giving them the money, and this has worked. This has been happening on not only in flight simulation, but I think it started on the normal gaming platforms, where we give them their money and we have an incomplete game, and they build the game as they go while they collect the money.
It's the fault is with both. So it is our fault for buying into it, but at first it wasn't that bad. Like, you had success stories with Minecraft, and to a much lesser extent DayZ. And you still get success stories with Kerbal. One of my favorite games, Melody's Escape, is in early access, although I haven't seen an update for that game in over a year, so I'm just going to assume that one is done, and they're just keeping it. I think the developer ran off, but I mean, for that game's not expensive, and it's actually pretty fun, so it's our fault for buying into it. But these days, people are a lot more hesitant to go with early access now, because it's been run into the ground so hard. And yeah, like, we're starting to see AAA developers do it. Like, No Man's Sky, they didn't do early access, but they did crowdfunding, which is somewhat similar in a way.
Yeah.
And that just turned into a nightmare. Actually, I like to attribute the No Man's Sky thing. I think that's how the Aerosoft CRJ is going to go down. It's going to go down like a No Man's Sky. And it's sort of our fault for it, but at the same time, it's the developer's fault for doing it in the first place. Like, no one's demanding they do this. And
right, and more people speak out against it.
They really should know better, especially with add-on airplanes. Again, Chase Plane's a bit special because of the type of add-on it is. But with an add-on airplanes, like, no, there's just no way. Like, you should know this is. And another thing is, Milviz has had no problem releasing planes in the past. Why all of a sudden do they need an early access plane? If they've had no problems releasing planes, good planes too. Milviz is a pretty reputable developer. I got their Cessna 310s, one of my favorite planes to fly. So they're good at what they do, and all of a sudden now you need early access, because typically early access would be for an indie developer who has most of the game done. He just needs a little bit more money to finish the last bit of it, or do the administration work for it. So,
and it is somewhat enticing, because they up front they tell you that if you get it now, you'll get a discount, and everybody wants to pay a cheaper price than when the final one comes out, and they kind of get you that way. Yeah,
but it's in that you may never get that.
Yeah.
And I don't really trust flight sim. I have no trust for flight sim developers these days. The only ones I really trust are like A2A, FS Dream Team, and Flightbeam. They're the only add-on devs I can trust. iFly to a lesser extent. As much as I praise iFly, I actually don't have any iFly products, because I ended up biting the bullet and buying the PMDG NGX like an idiot. I shouldn't have said that. Oh well. So there's not a lot of add-on devs I trust. And because the reason is they haven't given me a reason to trust them. Trust has to be earned. It's not bought or given. You have to earn it. And so far, those are the only devs that have ever earned it. A2A, I attribute A2A to being like the Rockstar development studios of flight simming. When you buy a game from Rockstar, when you buy a game with that Rockstar logo, you know you're getting a good game. Yeah. You're getting your money's worth. And the reason is Rockstar is sort of interesting in the sense that they are a multi-million-dollar company that releases their release schedule's like one game every 2 to 3 years. And it's an extreme high budget game. Like GTA 5 had a budget of over $1 million. I think approaching $2 million was the budget for GTA 5, with a 5 or 6 year development time and just a huge set of features, like really, really groundbreaking game. Like I don't think Rockstar's ever released a bad game. You might be wondering, like, how are they able to do this? Like, they multi-million-dollar budget with only one release every 3 years, like even accounting for 10 million people buying GTA 5 on release day. It still doesn't sound like the numbers wouldn't add up.
I heard they made more money from the add-ons and purchasing, the money. You can buy money for the online and buying the cars. I heard they made more money on that stuff than they did actually selling the game. So if that's true, then this is helping them carry on out and they're continuing to make money, because they're always doing something with the online mode, updating it.
I question that, because I personally never bought a single shark card, what you're talking about.
Me neither.
So I do definitely question that. That sounds a bit fishy, because I know a lot of people didn't buy any of that and got angry over it. And GTA Online's largely getting replaced on PC anyway. You got things like 5 Online coming out to replace it, because GTA Online on PC is a real shit show. I spent maybe 30 minutes on GTA Online on PC, and that was just transferring my character over, and I recorded one movie with it in GTA Online. I never released it because of the music I wanted to have with it, but yeah, I would never venture on online now. I'm
trying to fact check myself, but I can't find anything on it. This is just word of mouth. Somebody told me that, but I'm not finding anything on it. So, like you said.
Yeah, that sounds fishy.
Yeah.
I don't believe that for a second. But the reason Rockstar is able to do that, and Rockstar breaks a lot of rules that other game developers can't get away with, but the reason they can is because they've fostered this trust level with their consumers. Again, when you buy a game with a Rockstar logo, you know you're getting your money's worth. You know you're getting a game that is worth the price tag, and you never have to question it. And a lot of add-on developers for Flight Sim have not done that yet. Like, A2A is the only one that has. And FS Dream Team to a lesser extent, and so too would Flightbeam. A2A I really like because these three developers have all shown pretty much the same quality. Like, one, they have a pretty fairly priced product that is innovative. FS Dream Team, notably, really makes me happy because they have working jetways out the box. And I'm not going to talk about this today, but there's a lot of misconceptions around Flight Sim on whether something is a bug, a fault of the flight sim engine being, because, it's FSX, it's crappy, and it's got a lot of bugs and whatnot. But a lot of the times, I see things that it's actually the add-on developer's fault. And it does tick me off to an extent. Notably with Aerosoft scenery, and Aerosoft's by no means the only one that did this. Magisim's guilty of this as well, and Fly Tampa was for a while, but they changed their ways.
Yeah.
Releasing scenery for FSX that they claim to have been built entirely for FSX without the moving jetways. And it just ticked me off because FSX has moving jetways out the box. And not only that, there's instructions in the SDK on how to take the moving jetway system, the hierarchy for it, and put it to your own jetway model. So you don't have to use the, frankly, kind of ugly default jetway model. You can make your own, and it works just like the default jetway.
Is that what you said you did in like 30 seconds? Or was that something else?
No, that was for the Socata. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
But yeah, like FS Dream Team and Flightbeam had working jetways out the box. Fly Tampa does now, but they didn't for a while.
Aerosoft is doing that now, I believe.
Thank God. Finally, people have actually started demanding it. Because Aerosoft had a bit of a conflict of interest with this. Because they had airport enhancement services, which was a payware add-on that added service vehicles and a jetway. And that was a big deal in FS9, because you didn't have that stuff in FS9. But FSX had it out the box. Even the service vehicles, although they weren't the best in the world.
Oh, they do have that too. I noticed on Malaga X, that one does have the moving jetways, and then also if you open up the cargo hatches, the conveyor belt truck comes up and goes inside there, which was the first time I've seen that on an Aerosoft scenery.
Oh, that's good. Does it? So wait, it's got a cargo truck in as part of the scenery?
Yeah, I was very surprised because I opened the cargo hatch on the Airbus, and then I was going to the outside to get some footage. Yeah, and it drove over and went inside. Actually, put the.
Is it the default one?
I don't know if it is or not.
I'll have to get a picture
of this. What do you mean the default one?
Because that's a default feature. Like default, if you open your cargo doors at a gate where the cargo vehicles are, they will, if the airplane is set up correctly, they will actually go to one of the cargo doors and sit there for a while.
Default in the sim is FSX.
In FSX.
This is P3D. I don't know if they have that default. I hadn't seen.
I would assume it would be the same in P3D because it was largely a carryover. I don't know. They may have took that away.
Oh, does the jetway have to be connected for that to happen? Not
to my knowledge. You just have to open the cargo door.
Okay, I had never seen it before.
Yeah, it was one of those things where if the airplane was not set up properly, it wouldn't work. And at first, when we went over the FSX, a lot of people were bringing stuff over from FS9, and I had this problem on American Truck Sim recently. If you don't check to make sure that it is compatible, you can end up a situation where it works, but it's actually causing some problems because you didn't add the new stuff in there. American Truck Sim had that problem with mods. If I open up my American Truck Sim now and go to my single player profile, my currency for my little company on there is in euros, even though US dollars is what it's supposed to be. But when I go to the setting to change that, there's no US dollar setting because one of my mods is overriding it because it was brought over from Euro Truck Sim before the developer didn't check to make sure that was a thing.
Oh, okay.
But what were we talking about? Oh yeah, it's just, Aerosoft had that incentive with airport enhancement services, which was payware, and I never liked it. I've only spent $10 on a credit pack on it once, and I regret doing it to this day because, you're charging it. First of all, you had to buy the scenery. They only did AES with payware sceneries. Then you wanted to charge us for moving jetways, a feature that comes default. So you were in the situation where I'm spending money twice for something that a default airport can do. What?
When you put it that way.
Yeah. And, now they got SODE jetways, which I think is a FS Dream Team thing, which are making moving jetways a lot easier I'm no 3D modeler. But if I've read the SDK, and actually, I will bring the SDK up right now because I have it on this computer. And I will look at this. I'm no 3D modeler, but I have some working knowledge of how 3D modeling works. And with 3D modeling, anything that's animated has a bone structure of joints and bones and whatnot. And when you make a 3D animation, you're actually moving those bones. There's a program you can download to play around with this called Miku Miku Dance, which if anyone's familiar with Hatsune Miku, you would know of this program. You can actually start this program up and load in one of the Vocaloid models, usually Miku or Rin or Lin or Luca or whoever, and you can move them around, and you can do simple animations with it. You can actually do some pretty complex stuff. If you look up MMD on YouTube and see some of the stuff people have made, it's like, holy cow. But that's how it works. The default jetway, the SDK has instructions in it on how to set up the bone structure of the default jetway so that it, or any jetway, so that it mimics the default jetway, and you can simply use it by hitting a key command. And I'm sitting here thinking, so did add-on developers just not read this? Is that the situation we're in?
I think that's what it is sometimes. They don't read that stuff.
It does feel that way. I mean, I don't know much about 3D modeling, but this doesn't look too terribly hard. Like, okay, so I'm highlighting the biggest bone in the default jetway now on this little SDK, and it says, this is the second sliding joint. Notice the x-axis is limited for sliding on the rotational axis, and the rotational axis are turned off. So this is a joint that allows two different parts of a moving object to slide in and out of one another, essentially. That's the type of bone that it is. And you can limit how much it slides, is what it's saying. And I'm looking here on the side. It's a sliding joint, x-axis, a checkbox for active, and a checkbox for limited, and entry boxes for from and to. So you can limit it. In this case, this bone is limited on the x-axis from 0.2 to 10.3. Which, this is really, audio form sounds confusing as all hell, I'm sure, but when you see the picture, it actually does make sense. So I'm guessing they just didn't read that. And I'm going to use this really rather well-devised segue to move into my Just Flight Cicada review. There was two things in the Cicada review that really got to me. And that was the GPS did not show the correct position of the airplane. The moving map of the GPS it was wrong. It showed you off position. And the other one was the HSI drifted in the Cicada. So the Cicada came with this Bendix King HSI unit, which is a slaved DG, meaning it's a DG that is synced to the magnetic compass. So it should always indicate what the magnetic compass indicates. Except in this one, it drifted. Like the heading indicator on the default Skyhawk, it drifts around because of the vacuum gauge. And when I saw this, I'm like, I got this as a review copy, so I didn't spend any money on it, but this is a $40 add-on, and what? $40 and this thing drifts? And you can always go to the way you would do it with a Cessna 172, with a DG that actually drifts, when you would sync it up every 15 minutes. And when you sync it up every 15 minutes and before you cross the initial approach fix, I think's the rules for syncing up. But you shouldn't have to do that. It's an HSI. It's a slaved HSI.
And this goes back to needing demos, because I'm going to assume they don't have a demo.
I don't know. Let me look. Just Flight does have demos of their stuff sometimes, so they might. Let me see. But what really got to me was I have some pretty good working knowledge of how the FSX engine, the ESP engine, works with some stuff. And the second I saw this, I knew immediately what the problem was. And I was able to fix it. This is a payware add-on that costs $40, and no, I don't see a demo available, sadly. It's possible they have one and I don't see it, though, so... Oops. And I knew what this was. I was able to go into the CFG file of this payware airplane and fix this problem, and it took me less than 30 seconds. So that's how much work it would take to fix this problem, Just Flight. And you're selling this thing. I'm going to tell y'all how to fix this problem. Just Flight, I want you to close your ears for a second because I'm not telling you. You should know this. But everyone else, if you've bought the Just Flight Cicada and you want to fix that nasty problem, that HSI is not supposed to drift. It should be synced to the magnetic compass. To fix it, all you got to do is go into the CFG file of the airplane in its folder. Control F, look for direction _ indicators. That's going to be a particular section. You're going to find it in the CFG. And what this is this tells the game engine what type of directional indicators the plane has and how many. So these are separate from the magnetic compass. The magnetic compass is a completely different instrument. But you can have, I don't know if there's any limit on how many directional indicators you can have, but there is a limit on what types. So your types available are 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you're going to find in this section of the Cicada an entry direction _ indicator decimal 0 equals 1, 0. All you got to do to fix it is change that 1 to a 3. And that will save it, and that fixes it. That is all you got to do.
That was a lot of work, man. I don't know.
That was a lot of work, wasn't it? I had to hit backspace and type on a completely new letter.
God.
Man, no wonder it costs so much money. Now, what this tells the simulator is a type 0 is no directional indicator. So this would be the Piper Cub, for example. It has no directional indicator in it. Or does it? I can't remember. I don't think it does. A 1 is a vacuum gyro. So this is what you find in the Cessna 172. Now, this is just a vacuum-driven gyro, and this one drifts. 2 is an electric gyro. I don't know much about electric gyros. I don't see them very often, but apparently it is a supported directional type. They may drift. They are gyros, but I would imagine their drift, if they have any at all, would be less than that of a vacuum gyro. And then there's 3, which is the number we changed it to. That is an electro-mag-slaved compass. So this is basically telling the simulator that you want that directional indicator to indicate the same indication as the magnetic compass because it's slaved to it. That's all you gotta do to fix it. And Just Flight, in their defense, they're not the only add-on developer that gets this wrong. Carnato's got a nasty habit of doing it, and some of the default planes get it wrong too. But there, I just told you how to fix it. If you find a plane and you know that direction indicator is not supposed to drift, and it does, that's what you gotta do to fix it. It's that easy. And 4 is slave to another. So if you had 2 directional indicators, say one on the pilot side, one on the co-pilot side, you could slave the pilot side one to the mag compass and then have the co-pilot one side slaved to the pilot side. So it just indicates whatever the pilot side indicates. I don't know too many situations on what you would want to do that for, but it's there if you want it. And that right there would pretty much cover any type of directional indicator you needed. That easy to fix, Just Flight. Or I'm sorry, users. Just Flight, you should already know how to do that.
You can uncover your ears now. Just Flight.
Yeah, Just Flight, you can uncover your ears now. I've told the users how to fix the problem you created. I've lost our document. Here it is. I got so many things open right now, I keep losing windows. I just get lost. But we talked about we had a bit of an argument in the Slack channel today over review scores and negative numbers and amongst other things. I kind of want Jordan to be here for this, and we're getting a little long in this recording anyway. So I think it would be best if we table that discussion, because I kind of want Jordan here.
Yeah.
And maybe another member of FSElite to have another opinion. But I do want to say this. Callum, I know you're listening. I do want to say my thing with standardizing review scores. There is a reason review scores are not standardized. And there are benefits and pros and cons to standardizing them, but I don't think standardizing the review system would be a good idea, because obviously I'm in the minority on some of the stuff I had in this review. And we had a whole kerfuffle with multiple people in the Slack channel today over some of the stuff I was reviewing. And that's a good thing. it's good that multiple people here at FSElite disagree with me, because the way it's supposed to be, if you have a website that does game reviews, like The Escapist, if you go to 5 of their reviewers and ask them their opinion on a game, you're going to get 5 different answers. And that's how it's supposed to be, because you want a wide range of reviewers. You don't want all of them agreeing. Some of them will have a different opinion, and you want that because there's a little bit of responsibility on the part of the consumer. They're supposed to do a little bit of research on a product before just blindly spending money. One of the things you want to do as a consumer, and this is a message to the consumers just as much as it is the members of FSElite, you want to find a reviewer whose taste align with your own. So I have when I'm looking at a new game to buy, buy? When I'm looking at a new game to buy, I don't look at PewDiePie's reviews. I don't look at Laura K. Dale's reviews. I don't look at... I'm running out of names here because I really don't know that many other than the ones I follow. I look at what NerdCubed or Jim Sterling or Ben Yahtzee Corsaw, the guy who does Zero Punctuation, I look at their reviews because I roughly agree with them. My taste in games roughly aligns with them.
That's a good point.
You want to find a reviewer whose taste you align with, because if they like something, odds are you're going to like something, and everyone has a different opinion on what's good to have. Like, I'm sure I'm in the minority of thinking that systems modeling is not the most important thing, particularly with systems like air conditioning. I don't like. It's nice that PMDG has fully modeled the air conditioning system in the NGX, but I just don't care.
Yeah, you're only looking at it at the start of the flight. The amount of time you focus on it doesn't measure up to everything else. So I see your point.
Well, that and I'm playing a computer game. If I'm cold, I'm going to get up and turn up the thermostat or put a coat on. So the air conditioning system in a flight sim just doesn't matter. So I don't mind if that system is not there. Like, you can make the buttons work and make it look like they do something, but just make them dummy switches. I mean, that's fine. Like modeling the fuel system, that's a different story. That's an important system. So I can see you going out and modeling that.
Yeah, because you're monitoring that most of the flight. That's something you're going to actually look at.
Yeah, and something that actually matters. But air conditioning's not. There's only 3 planes I know of where air conditioning actually matters, and that was 4 planes. Now that I think about it, and they're all A2A planes, because the A2A 172, 182, and Piper Warrior Archer. Which was the Piper they made?
Like Cub? No, that wouldn't have any of that.
They made 2 Pipers. They made a Cub. That was the first one they made where they really started blowing people away with what they were doing. There's a feature in the A2A Piper Cub called Heidi. Little old Heidi. I really like Heidi because she will comment if... she's annoying as hell. Yeah. She's like a real woman. She will comment if she is cold or hot. And she wants you to open the window, or if you really want to tick her off, open the door and scare the crap out of her. But in a Cub, you can get away with it because that's how that plane functions. It's just, I really like Heidi. A2A, if you're listening, can you bring Heidi back? Because I really miss her, as annoying as she is. Because we have add-ons like FS Passengers they have passengers reacting to your flying, but man, A2A really knocked it out the park. Heidi is something else.
Yeah, nobody's really done anything like that since, have they?
Even A2A hasn't. You can get Heidi in A2A add-ons these days, but she's not interactable. She doesn't do anything.
So sits there.
You don't even see her in the virtual cockpit. I think one of the reasons they modeled her in the virtual cockpit of the Cub is because the way that plane is designed, having a passenger there makes a difference because you can't see shit anymore. And so having Heidi there was a thing. It's not too much of a problem. Like if you were in a 172, having an actual visible passenger there, it's nice, but they're not really going to get in the way. They do in real life because that cockpit's so cramped. Like I have to ask passengers, could you spread your legs, please? I can't turn the yoke.
Yeah, with the Cub, your view is the seat in front of you, and in the 172, it's right next to you, so you're really not going to see them anyway unless you pan over there, and it's not going to block the entry.
It wasn't so much that Heidi's visible. I like that she's interactable in a way. Like, you can't talk to her or anything, but
yeah,
you can change her mood. Like, you can make her a nervous flyer or an experienced veteran, and her personality changes. So if she's nervous, she's a lot more scared and temperamental of flying. But if she's more carefree, she'll be a lot more open. You can go up there and do loops and barrel rolls, and she'll be screaming woohoo. But if you do it when she's nervous, she's like, I want out. Land this plane. Or you could turn her off. That works too. You can have her there and just have her be quiet. I really wish that was a real life feature. But it's not. My favorite part about her was she was actually helpful. She functioned as a TCAS in a way in the Cubs. Like, she would say, plane 3 o'clock. If there's a plane within 5 miles or so of you, she'll point them out to you.
Oh, damn. So she was scanning.
Yep, she was really helpful. The most helpful first officer ever. And it came with the plane. It wasn't a separate purchase.
That's the way it should be.
Well, in other people's defense, there's really not much to a Cub. So...
Even with the PMDG stuff, for the price, it should at least come with a first officer. I mean, Aerosoft... Yeah,
like Aerosoft's A320 does.
Yeah.
I love that Aerosoft had that A320 with the first officer thing. I double love it that you can have it flip switches for you and make it completely automated or partially automated or not automated at all.
Yeah, and you have different voices you can select.
Oh, and that was so nice. Because it was a great way to learn how to work the airplane.
Right.
It was really good at that.
They go over the whole checklist with you.
Mm-hmm. And sit there and say, hey, this is not right. Could you hit this button? Or you could have it do them for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I still, to this day, if I fly that plane, I don't fly it much, but when we go over the landing checklist and I'm in partially automated mode where she'll go over the checklist, but she won't do anything for me, I have to set it up. She gets to the landing checklist and says landing memo or Memo or whatever the heck she says, landing Nemo.
Finding Nemo.
I found Nemo. There he is. He just got sucked into the right engine. Oh, look, we found Dory. Oh, God. Yeah, like, I don't know what the heck that is. What's a landing memo?
The landing memo, I don't know.
I think that...
Let's look that up.
No clue. I'm not going to bother with it. I could open the manuals and see what that is. When you do it in automated mode, you hear a printer sound, so I'm wondering if that has something to do with, like, V-speeds and something. I would imagine. Maybe it's just a different way of saying landing, weight, and data.
It's saying, I'm seeing landing memo checklist.
Is that the Gump check?
I don't know. I was just searching Aerosoft landing memo.
She might not even be saying memo, because her accent is a British accent, or... So it's really, she might be saying Nemo or Minnow or whatever the heck else. Oh, Cheerio. Landing Cheerios. Yes, I got my bowl right here.
Yeah, everybody's saying it's landing memo.
So it is landing memo.
She calls for landing memo. She then repeats this phrase until I shut FSX down. Someone's having an issue with it on the forum, I guess. Yeah,
the only issue I've ever had was I'm just not knowing what the heck it is. So I just land without it. At least she doesn't bitch at me for that. So yeah, that's a nice feature. PMDG, if you're listening, I would really love that over an air conditioning system, unless you find a way to tie my computer to my air conditioner in the house, which I'm not about to do. But
careful what you say; they might come in and do that.
They just might. Yeah. So we've been recording for. Hold on, let me bring up my timer here. Yeah, but we've been recording for just over an hour now, and I think we've pretty much said our piece of things. We got other stuff on this list that we wanted to go over, but I do want to have Jordan and maybe one other FSElite reviewer here before we go over that, because I think it'll be a much more interesting conversation.
Yeah.
So I'm.
Well, it's always a much more interesting conversation with Jordan around.
Yes. So we may standardize our review system. There's stuff to go over there, but. There's just really, we just got a couple last things to talk about. This should go quick. Patrick, do you do reviews for FSElite?
I do the video reviews.
So, have you done any aircraft?
I have not done an aircraft yet. I did a couple sceneries, Orbex, Germany North, and I did Chase Plane. Well, Chase Plane wasn't a review, it was a preview, but no aircraft yet. I'm pretty new.
Okay, so I'm going to throw a hypothetical at you here. If you were to review an add-on aircraft, what would be the things that you look for in it, and why would you look for them? So I'll go first just to give you an example. In my Cicada review, if you were to just scroll all the way down to the scoring system, I laid out the scores, which are performance, avionics, modeling, visuals, sound, flight model, options. I also have 2 extra ones, overall quality and value. That's a personal thing. They could be, you could completely ignore them if you want, because that's largely a subjective thing, and not all reviewers will do that. So performance through options is what I look for in an add-on plane, and in that level of importance. And I write the review the same flow. Performance is at the top because, like we discussed before we started recording, I don't care how good it looks if it runs like a pile of crap. So
yeah,
that's why that's at the top. And then for an airplane, avionics modeling is right below that, because that to me is the most important part of an add-on review or an add-on aircraft, because flight model is I mean, it's important, but I'm not going to care if it's not 100% right, because the simulators in real life they use to train real-world pilots, they're not 100% right either. They don't have to be. Jordan would probably agree with me, or he'll hate my guts for saying this, one or the other. But you don't use a flight sim in real life to learn to fly an airplane. You use it to manage the airplane. You use it to learn how to manage an airplane in various scenarios. That's what simulators are good at, not teaching you to fly. You're never going to learn to fly a plane, any airplane, off of a simulator. You'll learn its systems and its management, but the actual feel of how it flies can only be learned in the real thing.
I agree with that.
So that's why flight model's not really the most important to me. Avionics are, because that's kind of what we're here for. But if you were to review an add-on plane, what would you look for? What would be your criteria, and how would you list it in order of importance?
I really agree with your order, because for me, first of all, it's got to be performance, because if they model everything correctly, everything works, it's an amazing plane, but you're getting like 15 frames per second, that's not going to be any fun. So performance has to be first, and then avionics. I want everything to function. I started learning a plane recently, and in the manual they said that it was something to adjust the trim, something on the yoke. And I'm looking for this button, and then I finally find it, and it's not even modeled. But they're telling me in the checklist to do that. I don't like that kind of stuff. So
Coronato's real bad about that. So was it a Coronado add-on?
That's who it was. It was the CJ2. It was like this. It was like the button that I forgot what they call it. That automatically adjust the trim for you for where you need it.
Automatic electric trim adjust.
Yeah, it's on the checklist, and I'm like, okay, I have to do this. I'm trying to find it. It ends up being on the yoke, and then it's not even modeled. So it's like, why are you even putting this in the checklist then?
This is another difference between like A2A level quality and Coronado level quality. Coronado is a bit of a shotgun developer. So Coronado, when it comes to graphics, they're second to none. Like their visuals and as far as texture and model quality are amazing. All their add-ons look pretty. Like so good looking. They're okay in sound. Depends on the individual add-on. Usually if they do have a dedicated sound pack for it, they do a pretty good job. Like their recent King Air 350i was very good in both sound and visuals. But when it comes to actually writing the documentation, they don't do a lot of writing. They copy-paste from the real plane's POH.
Yeah, and that's not right. You need to write it for the plane you developed.
Yeah, like copy-pasting's fine, but remove the stuff that's not modeled, please.
Yeah.
Because you're just going to confuse. A2A is fantastic at this, because when you open up, and this is one of the things I had with the Cicada, too, I just didn't mention it because it wasn't that big a deal. Its manual could have been better, mostly because its manual's flow was not that good. Information was not where it should have been, and you kind of had to scroll around a lot to find it. Because if you read my review, the first thing I put as far as an image is I actually have a table of the performance characteristics of the plane and some spec stuff for it. So like the Cicada TB10 power plant's a Lycoming 0360 at 180 brake horsepower, and the speed is at rotate. Its VR speed is 60 knots. So just to give you an idea of how this plane is and how it handles. Coronado has a nasty habit of copy pasting. A2A writes their manuals not only specifically for the plane, they mimic the flow of a real world POH in their manuals. So POHs in real life have this flow to them. They have the same, they have data in certain sections. So not only does A2A, they go extra. You're never going to find the history of an airplane in its POH because why would you? But they do list like system. When you go in a real world POH, I'm not going to get up and get my AIM for the Cessna 172, but when it comes to like the checklist section, they give you the checklist, but then they also give you a detailed breakdown checklist of explaining what this is, why you do this. So you have the quick checklist where it's like, okay, mixture out, master off, yada, yada, yada. But then the detailed one says, bring mixture out to shut fuel off to the engine, turn master switch off to shut off electrical power to the main battery bus, all that fun stuff.
Oh, and they tell you, one thing I love, like when you go in the garage and let's say your spark plugs are fouled, they tell you like, hey, try leaning the mixture when you're out, when you're on the ground, like stuff like that to help you.
Does that. Yeah. Yeah, A2A, as much praise as I give them, some of those features can be annoying sometimes. Like notably with the engine startup, I have a hard time starting the 172 and the 182 sometimes. Like you could be forgiven. I know why A2A has done some of this stuff, but if you're judging a real world plane based off A2A, you could be forgiven for thinking the 172 Skyhawk and Skylane are delicate little fragile flowers.
Yeah, not hard to flutter.
Yeah, they're not. Like the 17, I have done bad landings. I did a landing once in a 172 where I swear I thought I broke something, and no, it took it like a champ. That thing's built like a tank. Well, maybe not like a tank, but it's built pretty good. It's built to last because it's a trainer plane. It has to be. You're going to have people of various skill levels flying at.
Yeah.
And possibly wrecking it.
Yeah, beat the gear up.
I will quote my second flight instructor here when he says, "Be rough to her. That's what she wants." Oh, George, if you're listening, I remember you. Yeah. So, they can be a bit annoying. I like them, but I use that auto start feature quite a bit because sometimes I do not want to fool with this. I just want to fly.
Yeah.
A2A does build their manuals like I got the 172, the 182 manual open now, and you open up to specifications and they list all of the specs for it. Your oil capacity, fuel capacity, maximum weights. One example is to find the weights in the Cicada was in one spot, but its rotation speeds were in another. It's like, oh, good Lord. It was all over the place. Like the airplane was. And then the next section in A2A, like this is the checklist, and this is the simple flow checklist. Like here's before starting engine, passenger inspection, or pre-flight inspection, passenger briefing, seatbelts, yada, yada, yada. The next section is procedures explained, where they break each and every one down. Then you got the performance with all the performance charts you need. And this is where Coronado really screws up. They usually copy paste stuff from the POH, and you can end up with, because different airplane manufacturers have different levels of quality in writing too. Me and Jordan were talking about how bad Piper is about their POHs. Cessna, if you can learn to fly in a Cessna, because it will make your life so much easier. Because they give you information overload in the amount of charts they give you for pre-flight. Like everything from time, rate, and fuel to climb to performance at cruise at various settings and conditions. Conversion chart, like you don't even need half of the charts they give you. That's just how many they give you. But then you go to Piper and you get next to nothing. Or worse, you go with a flight design CT, which my first flight to school had 2 of for the sports license. And oh god, you had to do so much work to pre-flight a plane, do a pre-flight with that thing, because it had nothing in it. Like they told you nothing. It's a real plane. They tell me nothing about it. Thank you, Flight Design. Yeah, that's Coronado, because I believe their Cessnas, when they model a Cessna, they're usually pretty good. Like their 208 comes with a wealth of information. But their Pipers, or maybe not their Pipers. Hold on, I'm going to open up the FSX folder.
And also, their CJ2 doesn't function the way they claim it does in the manual. I really don't like their ProLine, the ProLine 21 system. They have a mod you can get, but
they didn't model that 100% accurately. I'm pretty sure, because it's got the same system in the King Air 350i.
Yeah,
I've gotten so confused flying and approaching that thing before, because I can't tell what mode it's in. Is this an FMS mode or localizer? It's indicating localizer, but it says FMS, and I'm just confused.
That was confusing to get used to also. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's supposed to indicate the mode you're in, but that button indicates the mode you're going to switch to if you push it.
Like in green, it should say, on the main indicator, it should say FMS. I didn't know that in the beginning, because there's another one below it where you select the preset or FMS or the VOR, and I thought that one was supposed to be illuminated, but it's actually the one above it. It's kind of confusing without actually seeing it. But
yeah. So I'm looking at the Coronado Bonanza A36, and yeah, it's got next to nothing in terms of actual useful documentation. I mean, they have documentation for their autopilot, which is just a CAP 140, I believe. So if you know how to use a CAP 140, they have the normal and emergency procedures checklist, which, this is straight copy-pasted. In fact, this is not even copy-pasted. This is scanned. I know this is scanned from a scanner from the real thing, because this is not aligned properly. It's actually leaning slightly on the page. Oh, Coronado. Wow. I mean, it's useful. It's just nice to know whether or not something is there. And their reference information. You'd expect to find performance data. Nope. No performance data that I can see. This is all just the V speeds here and the airspeed indicator markings. Everything else is just like their copyright and a few other manuals.
With the CJ2, there's things that I learned that aren't even in the manual that should be. You know, like they don't tell you to turn the ignition switch on before you start the engine. They just left that out. Because prior to that, they tell you to make sure everything's on normal, all the switches, and then they never get back into telling you to turn the ignition back on too. I mean, most people will know that, but it still should be in the checklist as a thing to do.
Sometimes it depends on how the checklist is written. In real life, they may, since Coronado, as we've established, is pretty bad about copy-pasting the real-life checklist.
Yeah.
In the real-life checklist, it's possible they wrote it in a way that it's a abbreviated version, and you're going to have a type rating on this plane anyway, so you're going to know this. So they're only hitting the abnormal stuff or stuff that is vitally important.
Yeah, in that plane you would probably have a type rating.
I'm trying to find it. What's the full name of it?
The Cessna 525A CJ2.
Cessna 525A. Is this a new one?
Came out like a year ago. Or a little over a year ago.
Okay, here it is. 525A citation.
Yeah, the citation. Forgot that part.
Okay. Yeah, you would have a type rating in that plane because it's a turbojet. Yeah, you would have, if it has an empty weight of over 12,500 pounds, or is it the maximum gross? One of the two is either the empty weight or the maximum gross weight over 12,500, or if it's a turbojet or turboprop, you're going to have a type rating in it.
Well, that's understandable then that they assume you know some of those things.
Yeah, but it's a simulator, so Coronado, you could do better in your writing. It's not the biggest problem with Coronado planes, to be honest, but...
No. The flight model on that thing is amazing. Even the cabin, awesome. Outside, inside. Yeah.
The actual physics of it? Or are you talking about the planes model?
Oh, just the texturing modeling. The physics are okay. It flies really nicely. Trim works nice. Especially, it's one of my favorite planes to land, actually. It's like one of the smoothest I've used. But I don't know how it compares to how it should fly in real life, because there's nothing to really compare that to. And I think that's the only CJ2 on the market that I know of.
Yeah, Coronado is really smart in the planes they choose to model. They almost always go after planes that you can't get from anywhere else.
I would love to see A2A do the CJ2. I would
love to see
incredible job.
A2A do any kind of jet.
Yeah. They don't have one, do they?
Nope, they do mostly props.
Damn. Well, that'll be a thing, hopefully, for them. Maybe they'll do that. If you're listening, A2A.
Yeah, A2A. We want a jet because we expect quality from you, A2A. So we want a jet. They might be a bit scared to do one because they have such a high level of quality assurance that a jet can be a bit difficult. Like turboprops in Flight Sim are especially bad because of the way Flight Sim, it doesn't do turboprops correctly. That's just a known thing. So that might be a reason you don't see them doing it. Which, now, fair enough. I'm more of a GA flyer anyway, and particularly small prop planes. So if A2A wants to stick doing the small props, I just want a Cessna 206 with a G1000 A2A. Can you give me that?
Well, a lot of the most successful companies in a lot of things, it's when they specialize in one type of thing, and that's all they do.
Yeah, that's definitely A2A's business model. Which, surprisingly, that's Flightbeam and FS Dream Team too. But FS Dream Team has done planes in the past. They did they're the ones that made the F-18 for the Acceleration Expansion Pack.
Oh.
Which, to be perfectly honest, FS Dream Team, you did a pretty good job on that. That's probably one of the better default planes. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for what we have to talk about on the podcast this week. So, I just got one last thing to add here. Since this is the first episode, we're not really going to be doing it. But in subsequent episodes, we want to have questions from our audience. Ask us anything. I didn't do it this time. I was going to put a thread on the Flight Sim subreddit asking, like, we're going to have a podcast. I'm a real-world pilot I have a private pilot's license with 80 hours total in the Cessna 172. Jordan, he's not here tonight, but he's a certified flight instructor. And Patrick here works with FSElite on the YouTube channel. I'm also a YouTuber. And if you have a question, just ask us. Ask us anything. I don't care if it's flying related or not. You can ask us what our favorite video games are. But we're going to be taking questions. We'll take roughly 5 every week. Usually the most interesting questions, we'll have a tweet go out on the FSElite channel and my personal Twitter as well. I will for the next episode, but I will put at least one thread on the subreddit for the next episode. Not all episodes, because that would be clogging up the subreddit, and they don't like that. And I meant to do it this time, but I got distracted by something a few hours before we started recording and was unable to do it. So since we don't have any this time, I am gonna ask one question that a friend of mine on a Discord server asked. He's not really a flight simmer, but he is into aviation, notably with Ace Combat. He's a Ace Combat player. And he asked us, on a scale of 0 to ugly, how butt ugly is the F-35? You want to answer this one, Patrick?
It's very chubby. I don't like it.
You don't like it? It's stealthy. Stealth planes usually don't look very pretty. The F-22 is the exception, not the rule.
I'm pulling up a pic right now just so I don't have to go by memory.
It is a chubby plane because they do the internal weapons base for the stealth capability, and you also got to have that engine in there.
Yeah. So. I think me, you, and Jordan all like the F-22.
Yeah, the F-22 is really pretty.
So I would say F-22, F-18, and then the F-35. But yeah, it's on a scale of 0 to ugly, so what, we can't say 5 or...
I don't know. I mean, that's a really arbitrary scoring system there.
Yeah.
I'd say it's a 0. I don't really think it's ugly, to be honest, just so much as different looking.
Depends what angle you look at it, too. Like, straight on, it looks pretty damn cool. Then you get from, like, the side angle from the front, then I don't know.
Yeah, it starts looking weird.
Yeah.
It looks small too. Like when you look at it from the top down, it looks really small for a fighter jet. I mean, my favorite fighter jet's the F-15, which is a monster as a fighter jet. The Strike Eagle especially. That's a big plane as a fighter jet goes. So
yeah,
it definitely looks smaller. If I had to list planes, F-15, obviously my favorite. Particularly the Strike Eagle. I love that plane. And if anyone out there is listening, can somebody, I don't even care who at this point, just make an F-15 Strike Eagle for DCS World, please. Me love you long time. I will put your kids through college if you do this. I love that plane. And a special request, can I get a Shahaya Eagle paint job for it, pretty please? Nobody knows what I'm talking about except me, but maybe a few of you do, and you just know how much of a nerd I am now. You know, if somebody would please make an F-15E for DCS World with this paint job, just Google it, you'll find it. You'll know it when you see it. You definitely will. So we've gone on for too long. I don't think the F-35 is ugly, and Patrick, neither do you. So Patrick, I gotta end this for the sake of brevity. Where can the lovely listeners find your stuff?
I have my stuff on YouTube under the FlightSimDeck. I also have a website, theflightsimdeck.com. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and that's where you can find me. So please subscribe to me and check out my videos. You might like them. And also the FSElite YouTube channel. Please sub over there. That's where more of my content is also placed from time to time. So that's where I am.
Cool. And I'm CountryFlyboy. You can find me on YouTube. Just search for CountryFlyboy. You'll find me. I can also be found on Twitter at country_flyboy. That's my Twitter handle. And I'm a bit freelance. I do various stuff on FSElite. Recently just did a Socata review, the Just Flight Socata TB10 and TB20. So check that out if you're interested. I also do a series of editorials called Does It Hold Up, where I look at older add-ons that have been around for a while, and I see how they measure up today. Notably, I really like this one, notably with Prepared 3D, so add-ons being backwards compatible with it. I think a more modern review on some of them would be helpful. So that's what that series is for. And look forward to an editorial I got coming up where I'm going to talk about how I plan on selecting my next simulator. And I just realized I forgot to mention one thing from our document. I'm going to give this a quick mention because I think the guy deserves it.
Oh, yeah.
EFM 12. This is a freeware flight simulator made by someone on the Flight Sim subreddit. A guy by the name of u/MookieXL. I love that name. It's u/MookieXL made a freeware flight simulator that you can find on the Flight Sim subreddit. I think the actual Reddit thread about it has sort of disappeared onto the second page now because of how Reddit works, but just when you get on the Flight Sim subreddit, just search for EFM Sim. He recently released version 1.2 of it, and notably what version 1.2 adds is volumetric clouds with directional shading, VOR navigation, and he's got a note here. If you tune 121.5 on the VOR, you can find the second airport. So there's two airports in this little island that he has. One you take off from, and one that's hidden somewhere that I haven't found yet, and I'm going to have to look for. At least that's what I take from that. He's also improved the flight model, adding prop wash now, procedural generated foliage, and a dynamic sun position. So, and I've played his little free simulator. It's built in Unreal Engine 4, which is a game engine you can... I think it's free. I think Unreal Engine 4 is free. To put it in perspective, this is the same game engine that Dovetail's Train Sim World is running off of. If you've seen the promotional material for that, you know how good that looks. It's the same game engine. And notably, if you ever played Life is Strange, that runs on Unreal Engine 3, the older version of Unreal. So those are Life is Strange was a particularly pretty looking game. So definitely check that out. EFM Sim 1.2. It's pretty good, actually, for a freeware sim. I actually think it's got one up on Aerofly. Actually, you know what? I did see a feature in it that I really liked that I haven't seen any sim do. And there's Pappy lights at the runway of the airstrip. So Pappy lights are in FSX in X-Plane, and I think they're in Aerofly as well. The way they function in FSX is they are a painted texture that will switch between or sort of white with a yellow hue and red depending on your angle on the glide path. That's how a Pappy works. In real life, they don't insta-switch. They don't hard insta-switch like that. They sort of fade between one another due to the way the Pappy system's designed. They kind of crossfade. At least that's what it looks like. And I noticed in this simulator, the Pappy light color crossfades. It doesn't hard switch. And it looks really nice.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely check that out. I'll try to get a link in the show notes. I'm not really sure how that's going to work, but check it out. EFM Sim 1.2 freeware flight sim developed by u/MookieXL with the Unreal Engine 4. So I wanted to mention that earlier, but I forgot about it, so it's mentioned here. Anyway, that's going to do it for tonight. That was the Pilot's Lounge FSElite Podcast. Hope you enjoyed it, and we shall see you guys next time. Take care, everybody.
See ya. 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 See ya.